In episode 39, titled Design Sampling and Coverage, we open by crafting a sampling strategy that represents reality without drowning the team in excess. A good sample is not a random grab bag or a cherry-picked showcase. It is a deliberate cross-section that mirrors how the system truly runs, where it changes most, and where risk concentrates. The aim is to prove control behavior with enough breadth to be credible and enough focus to be feasible. That balance comes from linking samples to populations, choosing sizes using risk and complexity, and writing down the logic so anyone can replay the choices later. When sampling is treated as a design activity, not an afterthought, assessments become faster, clearer, and harder to dispute because the evidence lines up with how the system actually works day to day. Begin by identifying the populations from which you will draw: tenants, regions, environments, and component types. Tenants may differ by size, data sensitivity, feature enablement, or contractual obligations, each shaping how controls should appear. Regions bring legal constraints, latency realities, and platform differences that can quietly alter configurations. Environments, development, staging, and production carry distinct guardrails and change cadences, and the sampling plan should state why each is in or out. Component types complete the picture. Hosts, containers, managed services, serverless functions, identity providers, gateways, and data stores all surface different control mechanisms. By cataloging these populations with a few discriminating attributes, you give yourself the palette from which convincing, efficient samples can be drawn without guesswork. Select sample sizes using a triad of risk, complexity, and change frequency. Risk concentrates where impact is high or exposure is broad, so high-value data stores, public interfaces, and administrative planes deserve larger samples. Complexity introduces variation. Heterogeneous stacks, custom plugins, or cross-cloud topologies justify more slices so you do not mistake one configuration for the norm. Change frequency is the third lever. Rapidly evolving services, pipelines with daily deploys, and policy engines under active tuning merit more touchpoints to catch drift. Not every population needs the same count. Some warrant deep cuts while others earn a light touch. Write the numbers as ranges, tied to explicit conditions, so the plan can flex without inviting bias when real calendars meet real constraints. Randomness is your fairness engine, but it must be tempered with constraints for critical or unique items. Use random selection within each population to avoid the quiet bias of choosing easy or known good targets. Then layer constraints so that crown jewel assets, unique architectures, or recently changed components are always included regardless of the draw. This approach preserves statistical honesty while honoring operational reality. Implement the randomness with a repeatable method-seeded selectors or documented queries so another assessor could replicate your picks and get the same list. When chance and conscious inclusion work together, samples stay representative without omitting the very items that most need scrutiny. Edge cases deserve attention because they often reveal where controls soften under pressure. Include privileged paths such as administrative consoles, emergency elevation routes, and service-to-service channels where enforcement may differ. Add break-glass access scenarios that test approvals, logging, and rapid revocation, treating them as first-class samples rather than theoretical footnotes. Pull in documented exceptions, compensating controls, and legacy components living under waivers, because real systems carry history as well as intent. The goal is not to shame the edges, but to confirm that they are fenced correctly, monitored visibly, and time-bounded, so the sample tells the truth about how the organization handles its hardest corners. For processes, sample across time to prove consistency rather than capturing a single good day. Evidence like access reviews, backup verification, incident drills, change approvals, and patch cycles should be drawn from multiple months or quarters, aligned to the stated cadence. Choose windows before and after notable events, reorgs, product launches, or tooling changes to see whether practice held steady. Time-based sampling turns "we do this monthly" into proof that months actually happened and looked like the procedure claims. It also reveals seasonal behaviors and bottlenecks that a one-shot review cannot detect. Controls operate on calendars. Your samples should too. For configurations, pick representative platforms, versions, and regions that match the operational mosaic. If 3 operating systems and 2 cloud providers carry production workloads, the sample should show each combination rather than trusting one to represent all. Where versions matter, databases, agents, libraries include the currently dominant release and at least one trailing or leading version to surface drift risks. Spread coverage across regions to capture differences in provider features, latency, or local overrides. Document the mapping that says which sample stands in for which cluster of similar systems. This turns configuration sampling into an architecture-aware exercise instead of a scavenger hunt for screenshots. Document your rationale linking every sample to a risk statement and its parent population. Each item should carry a short why line: high-impact tenant, newly refactored service, recent policy change, unique integration, or random draw number N from population X. Tie those reasons to the risk register or scoping notes so the list reads like an argument, not a memory. When reviewers see the logic, debates shift from "why this server" to "does this risk framing still hold?" That change accelerates consensus and reduces rework. Rationale writing is not bureaucratic fluff. It is the breadcrumb trail that makes the sampling plan auditable and defensible. Coordinate access to sampled items before testing begins so the schedule does not stall on permissions. For each sample, confirm the point of contact, required roles, read-only or interactive credentials, maintenance windows, and any provider notifications needed to avoid automated blocking. Where data seeding is required, synthetic records, test tenants, or throwaway certificates, prepare them with clear tags and cleanup steps. Package configuration exports and dashboards with stable links so assessors are not paging owners mid-session. A sampling plan that lines up access in advance turns the first testing day into verification time rather than account provisioning or exception chasing. Track coverage metrics and adjust during daily stand-ups to keep the sample representative as reality evolves. Maintain simple counters by population, tenants hit, regions covered, platforms observed, processes spanned, and compare them to targets set at kickoff. When one dimension lags, swap in queued alternates or increase draws in that area, recording the adjustment and reason. Treat these metrics as a health panel, not a scoreboard. The point is not to win, but to detect skew early so the final evidence truly reflects the environment. Small course corrections made daily prevent large credibility gaps at report time. Name the pitfall plainly. Biased sampling that favors easy, compliant, or showcase items. Convenience bias sneaks in when owners nominate their best-behaved services, when assessors pick systems they already know, or when time pressure rewards the shortest path. This bias produces glossy findings that collapse on contact with reality. Counter it with transparent selection rules, random draws, and the constraint list that forces in high-risk, high-change, and oddball cases. Review the in-flight sample with a skeptical eye. If everything looks perfect, you are probably not looking wide enough. Credibility beats comfort every time. A quick win is to script selection from the inventory to remove human bias and speed execution. Drive the draw from the source of truth, your asset and software inventory, filtering by tags for population attributes, then applying seeded randomness and constraint injection. Emit a signed selection file with item identifiers, owners, and why rationales, and store it where both the cloud service provider, CSP, and the third-party assessment organization, 3PA, can retrieve it. This script becomes part of the evidence. It shows the process is repeatable, tamper-evident, and indifferent to preferences. Automation does not replace judgment, it protects it from drift and fatigue. Use a mini-review ritual to keep everyone aligned. State coverage by population, risk, and method allowed. Today we covered 2 high-impact tenants, 3 regions including the new one, and 5 configuration families. For each control, we used examine plus test where enforcement applied. This 30-second loop forces clarity, surfaces gaps, and creates a shared memory of progress. Pair the statement with a living matrix that maps controls to samples and methods, updated as you go. When the final report lands, the narrative will match the map because the map shaped the work. To conclude, sampling is locked when populations are defined, sizes are risk-weighted, randomness is constrained by criticality, edges are included, Time windows are spanned, configurations are representative, rationale is written, access is prearranged, metrics guide adjustments, and bias is engineered out. The next action is concrete and visible. Publish the coverage matrix with items, reasons, methods, and owners, then share the selection script and signed draw file alongside it. When coverage is designed, documented, and observable, the assessment reads like a faithful portrait of the system, not a collage of convenient snapshots, and decisions made from it will stand. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.